Hello and welcome to episode 65 of the Cutie Art Crusaders for Tuesday, October the 1st, 2013. Welcome back, guys. We're finally in order. My name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the host and organizer of this podcast, and today I'm joined by...
Burn1, and I am the special guest coordinator, and this week I will be doing the editing of the podcast.
I'm Flutterguy317, and I am the media manager for the podcast.
I am Atmospark. I do questions and the DeviantArt page.
All right.
Yay!
So, we mentioned, a couple weeks ago now, I mean, our last two episodes were flipped because of our stroke of genius there. But what we did ask people was to both send in questions and send in some names for our R63 characters. And we got both of those. You know, we could always use more questions, so feel free to keep sending those in. But we did get a bunch of Rule 63 names for all of our characters. And I
They're
mean,
all fantastic. Thank you, guys.
Burn, there was one that was like Serene Caprice.
Caprice.
I don't know how you say that.
Yeah, saw that.
I have no idea what that means. Anyways, thank you all for sending in emails. There were some definitely good suggestions in there, so we're gonna think on it for a little bit. So yeah.
But right now,
I think it's nice to get lots of more silly emails, people sending in funny names and stuff.
we love
Yeah,
seeing
there are
that
some
stuff.
good ones.
We love seeing some good
definitely.
stuff. There's some people, some of our fans are funny people. Let me tell you, we got some funny emails. That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, anybody else got anything to talk about before we get to what we're here for today? I apologize to our fans for being the only one with an interesting life.
Thank you, Rainbow
I don't
Plasma,
wanna
for having
talk about
something interesting.
My boring week. I started school again. I started
Oh
finally
God, what a
taking my
snore
next
in
semester
their
of
minds.
Move on,
My
move on.
goodness.
I'm taking 2 art classes.
Yay!
I
Burn,
covered my
what the heck
plushies.
are we doing this week? What the heck are we doing this
And
week?
I'm working full time, but you know,
Brent?
that's... Yes?
What are we doing this week?
Talking about my college life.
Oh, right, I forgot. You forgot to write that one down.
So the theme for this week is college life on in Burns'
No.
college
Yes.
life.
No, I'm cutting this off
a
right now.
boring one.
We're leaving someone in the silence right now that we should not be. So
Yes.
get to
All
it.
right. Well, anyway, this week we actually have a special guest on the show, which is nice because we've been quite a few weeks without having anyone special on the show.
Guestless.
So this
How
week,
would you say we're not special?
You fed me on the show all the time.
We're not. None of us are. Moving on. This week on the show we have GrayStripe64. So thank you for joining us, ridiculous people.
And thank you for putting up with that spiel at the start.
No, it was funny. I was laughing in silence here to myself. So yeah.
Oh man, that's what they always tell me when I try to tell jokes. Oh, it's okay. We were laughing in silence. So yeah. Thanks for coming on the show. It's great to have you
Yeah,
here.
no, thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
All right. So, I mean, I don't know how to start this because you probably don't know. I assume that you haven't really seen the show before, have you?
I've seen the one with the interview you did with Atril. So I've seen that episode.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, over the last little bit, I'm just gonna gush myself. Over the last little bit, recently I discovered you on DeviantArt, and ever since then I have just fallen in love with your art. And I think it's over like the last 2 months or so, it's gotten to a point where it's kind of creepy. So it's very exciting for me to have you on here because I've wanted to talk to you about your art for a while now.
Oh.
Well,
thank you.
It's really good that we kind of get into that. But I don't want to gush too early because we've got plenty of time for that. So
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
On that note, for those, what we do when we start out an interview, and I guess Rainbow Plasma just wanted to kind of gush, is we kind of, for those people who don't know who you are, would you like to tell them a little bit about yourself, what you do?
Yeah, sure. I'm an artist, obviously. I'm a striving animator in college right now. I'm in my second year of college. So sort of getting into that a little bit more. On the side, I obviously do, fan art for fandoms and things like that, just for fun. Ponies being a major one. I have, posted on DeviantArt and on my Tumblr and Facebook. So, I'm very internet savvy, so I spend a lot of time on the computer. And so I guess that's my life at this point in time. So, yeah.
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah.
So normally, on this podcast, because we're an art podcast and because you can kind of get an impression from everywhere else, people's backstories and stuff. We try to avoid the easy questions that a lot of people ask. But I did want to break the rule once to talk to you a little bit about how you first got started in this fandom, because it seems to be, at least looking through your gallery, it seems to be this sudden impact of the show just coming into your life, and it seems to be sometime around the end of last year or so. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you first got into the show and how it's affected your art?
Yeah, sure. No problem. I got into the show around just as the second season was ending. So right around my senior year. Just as soon as I was about to graduate from high school. The year before, I went through some tough stuff. I was really sad and kind of depressed a lot. And ponies, I'm sure there are a lot of stories out there like this, but they just, brought me so much happiness and joy. And I immediately fell in love with the show. It was a very quick thing. I didn't even see it coming. And then, sort of getting accustomed to it and watching all the episodes and really immersing myself in the world, I decided that it was around time to do some fan art. And so starting with pony fan art was a lot of fun. And then it just grew into this almost every day drawing ponies and putting them on DeviantArt. So it was just a really, like you said, it was a sudden, very, a big impact on my life, and it seems to be all I'm drawing at this point in my life. So, yeah.
Well, it's fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, we definitely approve of that shift.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a lot of fun, yeah.
You've done some work in some other fandoms. I know Rainbow Plasma was looking through your gallery and noticed some Warriors.
Warriors.
Yeah.
I know. That was my first fandom, I guess you could say. It's not a well-known one, but it's definitely one that I've been in for a long time. And right around when I was around 12 or 13, I guess, I was drawing cats and getting all those characters on paper. And so, yeah, Warriors were one of the first things that I ever posted online. So, yeah, there's a lot of that. If you go far back enough, you'll find that there's a lot of Warrior stuff. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely some of your earliest stuff. And I'm gonna hold back because I think again over the last 2 months I've started talking about the fact that I just love that series.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's very hard to describe to someone who's not into the series because it's something that either really grabs you or it doesn't.
I know.
So it can be polarizing for sure. I know some people who are quite polarized by the series.
I know. Some of my first fans were Warriors followers. So, all the fans that I have just are constantly telling me, draw more Warriors, draw more cats. And I'm like, well, I kind of want to draw ponies. So I'll have to hold that off for a bit. But, yeah.
Have you thought about doing some crossover stuff, maybe?
It's in my head constantly. But I have so many ideas that I want to work on all the time. It's hard to choose between which one I want to start first. So maybe in the future.
That'd be cool. Mm-hmm. I'm sure a certain someone in this podcast would appreciate it.
Shut up! Speaking of a certain someone in this podcast, and speaking of another certain someone in this podcast, you little bum, I'm going to bring this up really quick because someone recently got me a commission from someone else in this call who surprised me with it. Burned got me a commission of, I guess, myself, made by none other than lovely GrayStripe.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And Burned, you are the worst liar in the entire world.
I try my best.
Yeah, okay, so I think it was whenever, I don't know, a couple of a couple of weeks ago.
Woo.
This has been in the works for a long time. A couple of weeks ago, you mentioned, you were like, oh yeah, I grabbed a commission from GrayStripe. And I was like, oh, I'm super jealous. And so obviously I was interested and I went, so what did you get? And What was your answer, Bernd?
I don't remember.
That was literally your answer. Was I don't remember.
Well, see, it's a funny story because what ended up happening was when I got back from BronyCon, I was at Ted's over on, Flutter Guy. When I was at Flutter Guy's on the East Coast, I was at his house and I was stuck there for like 5 days until we were going to go to the shore. Mm-hmm. So I was just on my laptop when I would wake up and I would like browse DeviantArt, and I was catching up with people from BronyCon and looking at artists and looking up all the artists who I'd seen in the artist alley and all that. And eventually I came across GrayStripe. I came across your DeviantArt. Mm-hmm. And then I actually wasn't really familiar with your art. I remember seeing the family portrait with Rainbow Dash.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the first piece I saw, and I glanced over. I was like, this is awesome, and favorited it. And then I think I might have watched you and then just like kind of not looked through your gallery from that point. Mm-hmm. But then when I was looking through artists and stuff who were at DeviantArt, I came across your gallery again, and I started to look through it, and I was like, wow, this is actually, I was really liked your art. And you had a whole bunch of new pieces since then, and you had a bunch of BronyCon pieces that you started making. So you had the one where your OC dragging your swag bag across the ground.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was fun.
Bunch of fun stuff. And I was looking at all these artists who I had no idea went to BronyCon, who I had actually have liked to meet. So there was quite a few, and then you all of a sudden hit that list. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that you were making commissions, so I'm like, well, I'm sitting here, Flutter Guy's doing nothing. I'm like, I would love to snag a commission. So I sent you a message right after, like the week after BronyCon.
Yeah.
Asking for a commission of just like my OC with like BronyCon stuff on. And then like 2 days later, I got a piece by Blitzpony that this bugger in the call got for me. Which blew me away because Blitzpony has been one of my favorite artists for a long, long time. So then, right when he asked, I made some comment in a Skype call, just like, oh, I wonder if my commission's gonna get done, or like when it's gonna be done, that I had asked for at the last week of BronyCon, and he was like, oh, you got a commission from GrayStripe, who I had no idea was Rainbow Plasma's, like, you were one of his favorite artists.
Damn
right. I had no clue. I had no clue he loved your art so much. No idea. I didn't even know he knew about you until the Rainbow Dash one came up. Mm-hmm. And he asked me what I was getting, and I was like, You
didn't have to change it for me.
I just said some random thing, so then I went back and then I actually sent you a message, hoping that you could like change that to get something for him. Aww. So I appreciate you dealing with that, because we were sending you this flurry of like DeviantArt notes.
No, it was super easy, just got the reference images, easy enough to do, and it was fun. He has a great OC, so she's really cute, so it was fun to work with, and the colors are so bright and vibrant, and I love colors, so it was great.
Speaking of colors,
yes.
As far as the use of colors go in your work, I want to say recently, in like the last four pages of your DeviantArt, kind of starting with, I only go to page 4. I'm kind of like browsing over it. Yeah, no, everything's kind of like reserved. You have some Kung Fu Panda art in there, the tiger, which is adorable. And then right as it starts to hit pony work, your work gets progressively more vibrant and crazy and fun. And eventually it leads up to what you're making now. And now you're like on a Rainbow Plasma's commission, you have like complements of just a bright blue in like the edges on the highlights. You maybe want to talk about your use of color recently?
Yeah, I guess I could say it all comes from ponies, and that would be true. Ponies are naturally very colorful. I mean, the color scheme of, Ponyville is so vibrant and pretty, and so that...
Pastel.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fun to play with colors, and, I get really happy when I draw ponies, so I tend to want to use as many vibrant and... happy colors as I can. So when I get an OC like Rainbow Plasma, who is just yellow and blue and orange, it's really fun. So I always go the extra mile when it comes to colors, at least now. There's reason to, I think, so.
That's actually a pretty cool concept, because, you're being influenced by the things that you're working on in your art. So as you get progressively more happy and start drawing these happier things, they get a little bit more brighter.
Yeah, no, my drawings all stem from emotions. I mean, I really put myself into the characters that I'm drawing, no matter who they are. If it's the main 6, I understand them on like a a real emotional level, so I can really go into them, who they are, and really pull out a piece of their character. Yeah.
That's actually kind of funny because you said the magic word.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Don't even bring it
Someone
up.
who actually happens to be one of your biggest fans always talks about the emotional side of things, and whenever we bring up art on the show, he'll look at it on an emotional level.
Aha.
I'm kind of like holding my pinky up as I speak. But Rainbow Plasma here always likes to look at the kind of like the emotional context or stuff. I mean, you talk about it.
I'm
You know what talking
literally
about.
bouncing in my chair, just for the record. You keep bringing up things that I want to talk about, and it's like, oh, I'll talk about that, and I'll talk about that, and then I'll talk about that. So, okay, I gotta pick one. Fanning myself. Okay, so one of the things that we've established over the last year is that when I look at art, I look immediately at the emotional impact, the emotions of the characters, the emotion of how the piece makes me feel, and that kind of dictates to me, I don't know, how much I like a piece. And something that really jumped out at me immediately as soon as I found your work was the fact that everything just has this, it's like it's packed with all sorts of emotions. And what I've always described to people is that it's not necessarily that you're always drawing happy things. It's just the style and how you end up doing your art just always makes it seem like you're having just so much fun drawing it.
Yeah, that's pretty much spot on. Whenever I sit down and start drawing, I'm always in a great mood, and I try to keep it through the duration of the piece that I'm working on. So I always play some happy music and get myself going. And when I'm drawing expressions, I'll just draw the biggest smile and get that going on the piece of paper. So it really is just this this epic adventure that I have whenever I'm drawing. It's so emotional and it's fun. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of your pieces are really fun. I think I made the comment before we were recording on the show, I think a few days ago, that all of your expressions and pony pieces specifically look so eccentric. They look, the emotions and like expressions seem so blown out of proportion and happy. They always have the biggest grin on their face and that little squint that your ponies do right between their nose and eye.
Yeah.
That actually really caught me because it's adorable.
Yeah,
it is.
It's just that little scrunch thing is just to show the change in the volume of the pony's face, I guess you could say, just the change in direction from their muzzle to their forehead. It just sort of defines that change in their face. But yeah, I keep that there, and yeah, like it changes in size depending on the expression they make. So it's just a little thing that I just inherently do. I don't know.
The bigger the grin, the bigger the scrunch.
Yeah,
So
really. That's really what it is.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing that you do, but it does add a lot of depth to the character. And I mean, even going back to some of your earliest work, you still seem to have that, and it's definitely something that separates you. But you have this unique cartoony style. It spreads across, the emotion of the piece, the expressions that you use, and all of these different things that we're going to eventually talk about. But I did want to talk a little bit about some of your inspirations as an artist, because I feel like I'm just on the tip of figuring out who your inspiration could be, but I can't quite get there. So who, as an artist, what were your inspirations?
Inspirations. That's
Was
a really
it
good
anything specific, or was it just I picked up a pencil and drew?
I think a lot of it is subconscious. Sometimes if something does inspire me, I don't always realize it until maybe the piece is finished. I'm inspired by just a lot of things that happen in daily life. I constantly have cartoons running through my head, and I'm always watching, animation all the time. So it's really just the things that surround me and the emotions and expressions that are given to me through media and stuff. So I don't know if it's one particular thing. I mean, I read a lot of art books and things like that, and from some of my favorite artists. So I guess I get a little bit from them.
Well, let's warp the question a little. What would you say some of your favorite influences in media are? So like maybe some of your favorite movies, like animated movies or animated shows, besides ponies,
favorite animated movies. Well, I've pretty much seen nearly, I guess you could say, every single Disney movie and every single DreamWorks movie. I'm very well versed in the world of animation. Some of my favorite influences, I guess, would be Nico Marley from Kung Fu Panda. He's the character designer. So he was a big influence when I was in the Kung Fu Panda fandom. And sort of he's got this great style of just building shapes and then giving them expressions, and they have this great fluidness to them. And so big round faces and very round eyes, and it's hard to explain. I mean, it's just there's just so much expression and emotion there. And so I guess I pulled even more from that in terms of how I draw. So getting emotions and expressions, that way.
Makes sense.
And that's just one artist. I mean, I'm constantly scouring the internet for art on the internet, and I sometimes just come across random people and say, "Oh man, that's so cool," and I'll just keep it in my little reference folder. Like, go back to that later if you want to do something that involves that. So, yeah,
I'll do that too. Just snag a piece that really catches me and just put it in that reference folder to when you're looking for inspiration. Just kind of dig through.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
So there is a particular piece that is to this day your most popular piece.
Yes.
And this is the piece that, if anyone watching the show, and most of the people on this show as well, can probably relate to, it's this one, because this one spread like absolute wildfire.
Oh my god, I know.
And it is the Dash family photo.
Yes.
It's where both Bernd and I. This is the first piece that I had ever seen of yours, and I'm sure a lot of people have similar stories. But what was behind that?
Oh man, first I got to say that I had no idea that this piece would take off as much as it did. I'm very flattered, and I love that people like it so much. Obviously, because I like it quite a bit. One of the themes that I'm quite interested in art, in cinema, and just basic storytelling is family dynamics, parent-child relationships. Again, there's a lot of emotion in that, so I sort of dig into that well of inspiration all the time and pull things out of it. So, and with ponies, I guess there's not too much parent-child relationship, but when there is, it's when it's implied with Dash's family, seeing their parents and how they briefly interact. I got really excited. I wanted to sort of explore that idea. So this piece, it's exactly what it says in the artist comments, but I'll reiterate it for you. When we saw Dash's daddy in Games Ponies Play episode, I thought it was adorable. Dashy, of course, is one of the cutest fillies ever, and I just and so it started with her dad, and I immediately wanted to do like a family piece, and then I was thinking who would be Dash's mommy, and I thought, well, of course, it had to be Firefly based on Lauren Faust and who she would have wanted Dash to be based on. And so it immediately just grew into this, okay, I know exactly who these characters are, and I Firefly is like Rainbow Dash personality wise, so the family dynamic just really, really stuck, and it was perfect in how I was building it. And so just a little family photo, and I just wanted to emphasize the colors and the expressions, and I mean
that eyebrow.
Eyebrow, yeah. I wanted Firefly to be a little flirty, just sort of doesn't really care what people think. If she wants to give her husband a suggestive look, she's gonna do it. It doesn't matter the setting. So
That's more than a little flirt.
Well, I think when you look at this piece, you immediately go down to probably the best expression I've ever seen, which is tiny little Rainbow Dash just being the happiest little thing that you could possibly ever see. But I think it's really interesting how both of your other expressions are so, well thought out and just put together in such a way that you aren't just drawn to the one face, you're drawn to all three. And those other expressions carry just as much weight as the tiny little excited Rainbow Dash down there.
I just wanted to just have that complete family photo, so I wanted everyone to at least understand who these characters were just in one still frame. So I really pushed the envelope, gave Dash that really, big grin, and her father's sort of slanted brow, like looking at his wife like, "Ooh, what are you doing?" So just tell a story in one image was basically the challenge.
Well, that's the amazing thing, because here you have this story being told, but it's amazing how much impact just 3 facial expressions can have. Because they're cartoon characters, and they're just three expressions, but just these how these expressions interact with one another and then feel next to each other. It's actually quite amazing about how much it can do and how popular it can be.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited and impressed with myself that
Well, it's done really well.
People like it. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think so.
So you talked a little bit about your interest in family dynamics, and that comes up in some of your other pieces that were older and newer, are centered around that piece. But you've also explored things like, for example, there's one you have here with Pinkie Pie and her sisters. You have a couple different things with Applejack and her family. So it is evident that not only do you like family dynamics, but you like exploring, existing and kind of quote unquote non-existing ones.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun to experiment with possible family dynamics, but it's also fun to expand on the ones that already exist, or a little bit more. So yeah, with Ink, Blink, and Pink, the Pinkie Pie and her sisters, it was an excuse to draw her sisters because I haven't drawn them before, and there's not too much fan art of them, so I just kind of wanted to give my take on them. And so it just kind of grew into this idea of them all being like really happy, fun fillies who, the two sisters, Inky and Blinky, kind of look morose most of the time, but maybe in secret they just love being with Pinkie, and they're really great sisters, and they play all the time. So that was
because she makes them smile.
Because she makes them smile, and that's one of Pinkie's best attributes. So yeah.
Yeah, there's criminally not enough art of Inky and Blinky for sure.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because when I draw characters, I like to scour the internet, seeing how they've been done before, other fan art, and just getting ideas like, oh, like that was an interesting idea that someone came up with. Maybe I can incorporate something like that too. Not to copy necessarily, just to get ideas and like, oh, that shading style was really interesting. Maybe that would work well in this picture that I'm planning on doing. So I was surprised with how little there was of them, and that immediately spurred me to try and go forth and create. Fix that basically, to the best of my ability.
Speaking of shading styles, swapping back to the Dash family photo, what you used on that, like kind of the vertical cross hatching, and I think you showed some direction in some other parts of the bodies, like the wings. Like that was actually extremely unique, and I haven't seen that kind of shading put in a colored piece before.
Yeah, I really don't. I try to experiment with shading as much as possible in each piece that I do. I try it to be as different as I can, just for my own personal gain, just to gain more knowledge on Photoshop and how to make a more enthralling piece. So this Dash family photo was an interesting way of me just trying another shading style. I've never done a style like this before, the cross hatching, not to this extent at least. So I don't know where it came from. It just sort of, and I've never done it again. So it was just it was a little weird, but I like it, and it is one of the most unique shading styles I've ever done. And I don't know if it works with the piece. I guess it does, because people like it so much, and I like it. But regardless, I think it works. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it translated well too, and I mean, as you can see by the view count, not only the expressions, but I think the people also like this style of it. Like fans also really enjoyed the style.
Yeah.
There's something we mentioned on, again, a previous show, was that certain styles or ambitious styles seem to reverberate really well because it's different, it's unique. People haven't seen it before, and they're like, this is new, this is cool, and it catches you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I try to do, and I guess I just really, for myself, pushed the envelope with this one. Just never done it before, and it was fun and experimental.
Actually,
so yeah,
it's amazing how viral a piece like this can be.
Oh, I know.
I mean, that's actually what led me to your DeviantArt profile, because I saw it reposted somewhere because someone else reposted it somewhere, and blah, 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 blah.
It just spreads from there. Well, I think there's when we're talking about the shading style, I think there's an interesting aspect to it. Looking at it, it's kind of a bit choppier, obviously not as smooth as other shading styles, and I think it almost lends itself to more of an older photograph. Not quite as precise, and so I think it does work there because it gives it that kind of more grainy thing, as if you're picking up a photograph and looking at something that's not quite as perfect as some of the other things that we've seen.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation. That certainly could have been the reason, to subconsciously, probably that's why I chose it, but it is.
That's how we'll remember.
Yeah.
Do you ever plan on drawing Sweetie Belle with Rarity?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do.
The important fandom questions have to be asked.
I really love the sister relationship. I just like all family relationships in MLP. They're all fantastic. Even the ones that are a little bit a love-hate, like Sweetie Belle can be. But I really want to draw Sweetie Belle and Rarity. I don't draw Rarity so much because her mane is just such a pain to draw. So
It's just so
I know, right?
it's just a pain, and I'm surprised at myself that I can't do it right. I'm like, I have to whip out reference photos, and I'm like, why am I whipping out a reference photo for a pony? It shouldn't be this hard. At least not for myself. And so I have to get down her mane before I draw any other character with her again. So, but when that happens, I plan on it.
Make Sweetie Belle giving her a haircut or something. That way you can make your own mane.
God.
There you go.
Short,
Creative solutions.
Have
short
Rarity
named
be
Rarity.
mortified. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my. Rarity. I don't know how she'd react to that.
Probably not
Going
well.
into
Probably
shock.
not well. Yeah.
Like one of those
Her-
goats that just goes stiff.
Give her like some messy hair or something, and she would be terrified.
Make it look like Sweetie Belle.
Make her look like Sweetie Belle.
There we go.
Oh,
Close
that might be
enough.
cute. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, just
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first. I can talk.
just going back to the Dash family photo piece really quickly.
Yeah.
With the cross hatching shading kind of thing, to me it kind of lends itself to more of like a sketchy feel to the piece. I know we were
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about like a photograph, but I think that like that whole sketchy photograph feel kind of lends it to kind of portray the raw emotion of the piece a little bit more, which also kind of has it going for it with the facial expressions and the overall colors. So it's really happy.
Well, no, that's a great point. If we want to get super artsy with it,
Oh,
the
boy.
more
Let's.
expressionistic that you go towards a piece, the more loose it will feel, the more expression will be packed into it, because it's less about making such a perfect, realistic, show accurate piece, and it becomes more about it conveying how you feel. So things will get looser, styles will get sketchier, colors will get much, much brighter, and it becomes more how the piece makes you feel, how the colors make you feel, and then sketchy styles or nude styles even will become much more prevalent, much more important. It becomes more of what the artist was feeling when like making it, or what the artist wants you to feel, and less about, oh, this pony looks exactly how it did in season 3.
Yeah. It's it's all about personal interpretation, and so yeah, at least to me.
So
Yeah.
you have an OC that
Yes.
we should definitely talk about,
Yes.
because it lies on this fine line of extreme color, but doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
We see a lot of OCs as an art podcast. We see a lot of different OCs, and we've got quite the experience with them.
Always watching.
And there's we did a 2-part OC thing just to try and help people see what the difference between a well-designed OC and non-well-designed OC.
Right,
and one of the
right.
things that we always talk about is just things like saturation values and making sure that a color isn't too extreme. And I think you have found that very strange line of extreme colors that don't actually hurt to look at,
Interesting.
which is incredible.
Yeah. I went through many drafts of my OC, just when I get into a fandom, I guess I just sort of make it my mission to just put myself in that world. So ponies was inevitable. Drawing myself as a pony was almost expected. And I went through many drafts of her to find out just the right colors that I wanted to use. I mean, so many drafts, so many colors were discarded and reused. So the scheme that I thought of, drawing OCs is always a challenge, because I always try to, it's looking inside yourself and finding out who you are in this world. So I really had to find out what kind of pony I would be if I lived in Ponyville or whatever. So I wanted to, sort of bring that happiness that I get when I watch the show and sort of put that in a character of my own. So yeah, I did choose bright colors, bright orange and really vibrant blues for the mane and everything, and big golden eyes. So, I'm not really sure how I found that balance. I just sort of did it to make myself happy, but I guess if it does sort of define a balance between color and yeah, so it's unintentional. I just sort of did it just for myself, and I like the way it looked. So that's pretty much the story of how it was.
Yeah, well, we do too. So well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I find it so fitting in this BronyCon piece that Euroc is wearing a Rainbow Dash hat.
Yeah.
Because the whole color schemes thing it's very similar. I think with Rainbow Dash and the very vibrant kind of rainbow colors in her mane, and Euroc and her vibrant colors in the main.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff in that piece that she's dragging around in her swag bag is stuff that I got at BronyCon. That little lightning dust is something that I actually bought at BronyCon, and I got a couple pins on my bag and everything. And I did get like a pony hat, but it was an Applejack hat, and I was gonna have my OC wear it, but orange on orange was gonna look too confusing. It's just gonna blend into this big orange mess. So I decided to make it Rainbow Dash orange and blue, complementary colors, and it worked better. So.
What's with the crab?
Yeah, BronyCon was all about crabs.
Was it?
It was Maryland, because I guess Maryland is a big crabbing center.
Baltimore, more specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the crab is like their staple or something, and
It's like their town mascot, if you will.
Fair enough. I got a crazy crab in Seattle.
Yeah, you did. I didn't see too many crab hats though when we were there.
Yeah, there. I saw a couple, but they're.
You guys must not have been looking. I saw a ton of crab hats. Those crab hats everywhere.
Was it when you were wandering away from the group like you do?
Yes, most likely.
So
you do something really interesting with your OC too that I wanted to bring up, because I know people in this call are trying to move on, but I'm not going to.
That's
so
fine. Yeah.
there's something that you do specifically with your OC. Maybe you do it with other pieces, but I've noticed it most of all with your OC, and that's your outlines. You seem to be really interested in just fiddling with the outlines of the character. In your very first introductory one, you've got this gradient that goes from gold to orange to red, and then you've got more of a standard color, and then in your BronyCon piece, you've got this dark blue outline, and you seem to be experimenting with these different colored outlines. Is that intentional, or is it just kind of what fits in the moment?
It is intentional. Like I said, I'm always trying to just try new things. Even something as basic as an outline will change colors depending on the piece. I'm not sure if doing it with my OC is intentional. I just as the pieces come, ideas change. But yeah, I guess it is true. There are a lot of different outlines for her, and I mean, it was just an experimental thing. So is what it comes down to.
I know Bernd loves those different colored outlines.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I am a sucker for complementary colors.
Oh yeah, me too. Love those complementary colors.
As far as I want to say, you being a colorist goes in your work, I think you are an extremely good colorist because all of the colors that you do use seem to go really well together. Like you have several pieces that are on the lines of like kind of my favorite pieces as far as colors go.
Oh, thank you.
Especially there's a Twilight one in your gallery that we probably can't show.
We can't link.
Oh yeah.
But
we can
I can talk about it, and it's fantastic.
We can censor
yes.
it.
That
Censor
piece.
Just censor it.
Yeah.
And also, for history's sake, there is one piece kind of hidden towards the bottom of page 3, which is a Big Mac horse, which looks like your introductory piece when you first became a Brony.
Oh yes.
And then there's some more fan pieces, and there's some actually really lovely what is that? I forget the name of that movie, and I'm going to kick myself. Thank you.
Yes,
some Brave fan art in there, which is actually really fantastic.
Oh, thank
It's a great
you.
movie.
Yeah, that big Macintosh piece was, I guess that was when I introduced myself as a Brony onto DeviantArt, and believe it or not, it's not even pony style. It's a real freaking horse. So
That is a horse, let me tell you something.
Colored horse.
that is a horse.
Colored horse fan art.
That is exactly what it is. I really don't know why I did that. Looking back, I really don't know. It just Big Mac was just an interesting character that I liked at the time, and I just thought, just draw him as a horse. I don't know.
It was a transitional piece because you weren't totally used to the show style yet, and you're like, these are colored horses, draw colored horses.
Yeah, I guess that's exactly what it
Must
was.
have been the mindset.
You just hadn't made the distinction between pony and horse, and there's a big distinction. My goodness.
Oh, yes. Yes. The more you draw ponies, the more you realize just how horse-like they are and how horse-like they aren't. It's kind of crazy.
I mean, as a fan of Applejack, you'll probably know more than anything that she's got quite the noodly arms when you watch the show.
Yeah.
They're just flopping all over the place. So
I don't know about you guys, but I'm quite the rainbow-colored horse fan. I want to know what all these ponies are.
rainbow-colored horse. No thanks. I'll pass on the horses.
Pink horse is best.
Oh man.
Oh no, we're getting it. Are we starting this discussion here?
I don't think we ever have started this discussion on the show.
I don't think we
we
have
have.
either.
Yes, we have several times.
We've talked about who.
Well, in personal, I mean not with a guest, because we always try to avoid it.
Oh, well, I guess
No.
so. Her favorite pony's
Maybe once or
Applejack. There.
twice.
Yes.
Well, yeah, since you have an Applejack
Yes,
hat.
it is. I love Applejack.
Apple horse.
Well, you've got company on here.
Yay!
Flutter Guy's finally got someone else who enjoys
Yay.
who enjoys Applejack.
Yay,
Apple
good.
horse fans, very good, very good.
Yeah,
Yay.
it's weird with the whole name thing, and people have asked if I was going to change my name, but no, I can't
Apple
do that.
guy.
Yeah, who changes
Yeah.
who changes names, right?
I know.
Yeah,
right,
what
Gene?
nerds.
Oh man.
Darn it, Pinky Dash.
All right. Well, enough.
Forever Pinky
Enough
Dash.
of that.
So I wanted to bring up a piece which kind of really highlights some of the expressions that you've created in your ponies, which is this random pony expressions
Yes.
one, and it shows 5 ponies with completely different expressions, and they're all fantastic. How was it like transitioning from like other fandoms with the whole expressions? Like, are ponies easier to do expressions on, more difficult? Did it take a lot of practice?
Ponies are so easy to do expressions with, and they are so much fun. I literally do not want to draw expressions on any other face than a pony face because they're just so much fun and so easy. And I mean, because they just have so many great characters. I mean, like, you have Pinkie Pie bouncing off the walls, and Fluttershy being scared and reserved all the time, and Rainbow Dash with her cocky attitude. I mean, there's just so many characters that and they're great personalities that you can just pull from it, and they all have such well-rounded personalities. It's just this bountiful well of discovery that you can just delve into. So this random ponies expression was just an excuse to draw ponies in different expressions, and then I just colored it in a unique way, and that was pretty much it. And it was just so much fun, and I loved it, and I love looking at them all the time, considering it's one of my, I guess not one of my newer pieces, it's a little bit older, but I still like looking at it and going back to it when I have artist block or something.
You seem like the kind of person who really enjoys experimenting with styles and doing it in such a way that doesn't require, when an artist has their own unique style that they kind of pin down, that's kind of a goal for a lot of artists, is to find a style that they can call their own. But then when they try to experiment with other things, it's usually like, well, this is just an experimental piece. That's a one-off, and it's very obvious that it's an experimental piece. But you seem to always just be morphing little things and not in ways that go, this is just an experimental piece. Like, you'll just pick a piece and go, hey, I think this should be different, and then you'll try something completely new. So has that always been in your nature to kind of experiment with different things like that?
Not always. I don't know what it is, but I guess ponies just sort of made me do that. I really don't know where it stemmed from. It was just, once I started drawing ponies, that idea just clicked in my head that maybe I should just start experimenting with the different styles and stuff. I guess part of it is also that, trying to become an animator and work for Disney and DreamWorks and stuff. I want to keep my style fresh and always trying new things and experimenting. So even when I'm doing fan art and stuff, I try to keep that alive. So it just sort of stems from that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it looks like you have some pieces in your gallery that are like without outlines, and then this obviously your main style has the outlines that you normally use. But it looks like you've done quite a bit of experimenting with various different styles.
Yeah, definitely a lot of styles, and
That's cool.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
I feel like being a stylistic chameleon, so to speak, is a very good quality. We had a guest on the show, Alien First, and she was kind of a concept artist by trade. And she said one of the most useful tips she could give for like aspiring artists was to try to be able to do a little bit of everything. Like try to be able to do a little bit of like digital painting, cartooning, expressions, and be really open to be able to try new styles or do different styles, or do what, like for her, it was what her client would want if it was something cartoony, if it wasn't something more serious, but be able to have this plethora of things that you could just dig into.
Right.
So I think especially if animation is the thing that you're really passionate about, being able to change and go through so many styles of what we see in your gallery is a really good quality as far as wanting to be like an animator or cartoonist would want.
That's exactly what I think too, and I'm still continuing it. I still want to go down this road that I'm going on of just experimenting all the time. So I'm gonna keep doing it. It's fun, challenging myself. If you draw the same thing over and over again, if I just drew ponies the way they look in the show again and again, I think it would get a little boring after a while. So just want to keep it fresh and new each time as well as I can.
And fun, right?
Oh, fun. Oh,
Don't start that, please. I had enough of that at Everfree Northwest.
This isn't
BronyCon.
Oh my goodness. That was, for those of you who didn't attend the cons in the summer this year, it was decided among everyone that whenever the word fun would be said, everybody would try to go an octave higher than the last person. So at Everfree Northwest, we had some interesting encounters there, and I think by the end of the weekend, everyone was kind of sick of it.
Everfree Northwest was not bad at all.
Oh yeah, was it much worse at BronyCon?
Yeah, it paled in
Really?
comparison to BronyCon. BronyCon, there was like a roving herd of like 50 Pinkie Pies that would just wander.
We're
the
not
halls
saying
of
that like
BronyCon
calling
and
fans
just-
Pinkie Pies. Like they were all cosplaying as Pinkie Pie.
They were literally
It was
all
ridiculous.
Pinkie
There was 9,000 something
Literally
people at
Pinkie
BronyCon.
Pie.
There was a lot of Pinkie Pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it was so much
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, you're right. Towards the end of the weekend, people were just so tired of
Yeah.
that same chant over and over again.
Yeah, it starts out as this thing, especially for a person like myself who was going to his first pony convention. It starts out and you're like, wow, you're seeing all these new things and people are into the show, and suddenly you're not, there's so many people around you have the same interests, and then they'll start and you'll be like, haha, I get that, and that's really funny, and then like a day in you'll be like, okay, yeah, but not in my
Day
ear,
3,
not in my
they're
ear.
still singing.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was my first PonyCon too. So yeah, going out to Baltimore and being at BronyCon, that was my first experience in a pony convention. So it was
So much
it
passion.
was so cool. It was a great experience. I love looking back on it, and it's just so much fun.
Hopefully see you there next year.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to, and maybe I'll have a booth or something selling art, perhaps.
Yeah, I
You
was just
should.
going to ask, actually, are you planning
that'd be
on,
awesome.
based on what you saw, perhaps getting a vendor table? Now, I do have to warn you that based on our experiences with vendor tables, that you probably won't be able to see much of the con if you get one.
You'll be ridiculously busy.
Yes, I have thought of that, and I've talked about it with my friend and my boyfriend, and they said like, oh, if you ever want to have a table there, we could totally watch it for you while you went out and have fun. So I have great support and friends who are willing to do whatever it takes to help me get the most out of cons, even if I am vending a table. So one of these days, hopefully, it'll come to that.
Yeah, I
day.
think it might be a good idea, especially for a lot of artists out there, to... I'm not sure how you'd be able to do this, but somehow get a table for like 2 of the days, and then maybe spend the last day or the first day or whatever spending a time going around. Because as much as it must be a great experience to go and sit at that table and meet so many people, it made us feel kind of bad. I mean, we have many stories of trying to help people who are stuck at vendor tables just because they couldn't leave and they wanted to go see a voice actor or something.
Oh yeah, I know. Poor people. Poor guys.
Yeah.
Then again, they are making money, so I mean, the sympathy is weighed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's a
meeting
different
a lot of
experience
people.
altogether.
Let me wipe my tears with these dollar bills.
So one more thing I wanted to bring up, because we're wrapping up here soon, and I know people will have other questions, and I'll give them the chance. But one thing I did want to ask was, we talked a little bit before about the emotions that you have in your piece, and how it always seemed like you were having so much fun with everything that you were creating. But there's a couple pieces out there that are not always super happy in their subject matter.
Yeah.
there are things like you had an old Applejack piece with her parents. Let me see if I can pull that up for you really quick there.
There was another one that was Applejack-centric. It was one of your little sketch ones. There was like 3 pieces, and one of them was an Applejack.
Yeah, that was another one.
I mean, even the one when you heard about Equestria LA and you smeared your face along the ground, that one too is just, you know, filled with. It's funny though, because as I was mentioning before, even in these pieces, you know, Twilight being angry or you smearing your face along the ground, I still have this feeling that through the body expressions and everything, it just feels like you're having so much fun drawing it, like you're giggling at how silly the characters are being.
Yeah, no, it's always a really fun experience, no matter what the subject matter is, no matter the emotions that are being exaggerated. I guess with a lot of my sad Applejack pieces, Applejack is my favorite pony, obviously, and I really like to just delve into her character, whether it's happy or sad, and just really find out like who she is. And so, of course, the whole parent thing is a big. I guess, issue with Applejack. Like, who are, you know, it's a huge part of the fandom. So I had to give my 2 cents on the subject and sort of talk about that through art. And it is a sad thing. And I did sort of play some sad music while I was drawing it, just to get those feelings out and to really give them a lot of character and you know, emotion. So even though it is a little sad, and you know, there are tears and things like that, and longing and emotions like that, you know, it's still fun. I don't know how else to put it. It's still just exciting to understand characters more, even when they're sad. So yeah,
Understanding characters, embracing emotions. There's some kind of quality in that is, you know, enjoyable as far as who we are as people.
Yeah. So
Sometimes you can
definitely.
get weird looks from it, but you know, everybody finds different things interesting, and sometimes you have these experiences where a person will find something that's quite sad actually quite interesting, and it's not necessarily that they're happy about the sadness, but they're just, you know, they're very interested in why that sadness is there, or how that's impacting the person, or how they got to that point.
Exactly.
Taking
That's
something
exactly
sad
what
and
it is.
still being happy about the fact that they're sad. It's a strange thing, but I can definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, it's again, it's really just, I've said this a million times, it's just the emotion, and it just feeling something is just such an exciting experience, and being able to just feel through a drawing and through a character is just such a unique thing that I like being able to do. So I really go for it when I want someone to have a feeling. So when Applejack is looking sad, I really want her to feel it. I want there to be a real sadness in her eyes or something like that. So yeah, that's.
And in that piece too, it's not necessarily all sad either, because there is some happiness dug down in there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a sadness it's a happiness that has to do with sadness. Complex emotions, and I think you're definitely. I mean, from my perspective, like I said, I'm the kind of person who immediately looks at a piece and its emotional impact on me and the characters in it. And you know, I think you're definitely one of the best artists out there for just taking emotions and really exploring them. And
thank you.
While you know, maybe that doesn't work for everyone, it definitely clicks with me. So you know, what you're doing there with emotions is great stuff. So definitely keep that up.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I enjoy it. So.
Yeah. Kind of going off of what you were saying, Plasma, is art can really kind of tell stories about characters, especially like with the whole emotional side. So like looking at this piece called Still More Ponies, that Brent actually brought up in the chat. It's like if you really want to tell a story through the art, you kind of have to understand and be interested in all the emotions. So you do a really good job of portraying those emotions through a piece.
Thank you.
Especially in something like this, and also in the happy pieces.
I before I did any pony art, I really spent a lot of time really immersing myself in the world and really understanding like who these characters are. And I guess that goes without saying. I also do a little fan fiction. I also write a little bit. So before I write anything, I have to make sure that I know exactly what I'm talking about and what's going on. So it's all about So you just have to know what you're doing before you step into that world. So yeah.
You seem to be very knowledgeable about it.
Oh, thank you.
It's great to have you on the show and
thank
give you a chance to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I love talking about this. You know, it's a huge part of my life. You know, drawing ponies or just drawing in general and just bringing emotion into it. I mean, it's a huge thing for me. So yeah, being able to talk about it is great. So thank you for that.
Well, yeah, no, thank you. More of kind of a closing question. Mentioning more about kind of your life and who you are as an artist. You mentioned that you were studying to become an animator, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Are you, like, what you inspire to be or become? Is it like an animator who is going to be doing like hand animating, or are you looking at digital animation, or more maybe an artist, like a storyboard artist? I know we had Sibsy on the show, like something like that.
Yeah. I guess my dream would be to be a character animator. But when it comes to working in that field, I would be happy with anything. Storyboarding is something that is vastly interesting to me, and character design is something that's, you know, again, vastly interesting. I would be willing to do any of that if they'd have me. I would, you know, I mean, so that sort of thing. I try to sort of put myself into all the aspects of filmmaking, at least animated filmmaking. I try to experiment with, different fields like that. So in case I do get onto the team, I will be able to deliver whatever I can to the project.
I can definitely relate to that because I feel like, at least personally, and this does not take away from anyone else who doesn't feel like this, but I feel personally when you're so passionate about an industry, you know, like animation and things like that, you just get this feeling that I want to be there. I don't care where I am. I don't care what I'm doing. I just want to be there and get my hands just, you know, deep into that. I'm currently going to school for video game design, computer science, but my end goal would be one day working in a video game development studio. And when people ask me, like, what kind of, you know, things would you want to do in there, I can't give an answer because I just want to be in that environment. I want to look at everything and take everything in. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah,
be a part of something greater.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, it's true. You have to have a passion, and you know, when I take tours of, like, you know, Disney animation studios, I'm just fumbling all over myself, just looking at everything and dancing, and just being in that building alone is something that is unfathomable in terms of excitement. So yeah, you just got to have the passion and the love for it, and that is a big attribute to getting where you want to be career-wise, I guess. So yeah.
Well, it seems to, or it looks at least like you seem to have that in your work that you've been displaying currently. So hopefully that's something that your future leads to.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Of course.
I want to bring up one last piece of yours, just because it is amazing. It is this piece called Apple Rain.
Apple Rain, yeah.
And I like this piece because it shows Rainbow Dash and Applejack, like, kind of crossed, like, mixed up. Applejack has Rainbow Dash's goggles on, and Rainbow Dash is very country southern with the hat.
Seems almost taunting.
I don't know. I just wanted to
I think when you know, most of us on the show, we all have this we really enjoy the friendship between Rainbow Dash and Applejack, and so it's really nice for us to see something like this because it really lines up with our headcanon per se.
Headcanon, as in what would that be?
Oh, well then, headcanon as in just, you know, what we think it. Oh geez, I don't know how to define headcanon. Someone save me.
No. I mean, like, what is your headcanon for that?
Oh, just you know, that we see some stuff on the show that, you know, obviously they are good friends, but it's never really expanded past maybe one episode or so. So to be able to see stuff like that where we can see more friendly interactions between the two is something that we always enjoy seeing.
The whole Fall Weather Friends episode definitely kind of portrayed their relationship at that point in the episodes, but now it's kind of less defined because we haven't seen an episode with that kind of interaction.
Yeah, this piece really stemmed from that. That episode was one of my favorites because Applejack and Rainbow Dash are honestly I guess my two favorite. I love them all, but I love the relationship between them because they're similar and they're tomboyish and they like sports, and so it's just fun to sort of just see that energy play off each other. So this piece, it was just a friendly just sort of expanding on their relationship and how sometimes they can be playful and have fun with each other without being competitive and stubborn all the time. So
Yeah, because those two characters have grown quite a bit since that episode. And I mean, it's so hard when we have such a limited amount of episodes. There's so many things you want to explore, and when they've already explored something like the friendship between the two, sometimes it just kind of leaves it up to the fans to kind of flesh it out. Take the characters where they are right now, and then put them in those scenarios where they're showing off their friendship and things like that.
Yeah, and I wanted to do something, and I'm going to go very briefly into this. I don't want to start anything, but this piece is not meant to ship them in any way. I don't ship. That was the first thing I wrote in the comments. I do not ship these two. I don't ship any of the ponies, so I don't want this to come across as a romantic thing because it's not. It's just two friends being friends, and that's about it. So
yeah, that's what I was trying to get to too. Is like I was trying to describe it in a way that was just like, no, but this is not.
Yeah.
Apple Dash OTP.
Just a little bit of clarification.
Exactly. So that's
so
why
true.
I feel the need to defend myself.
All right, well,
I
I think we're going to have to wrap up fairly soon, but... Sorry, Flutterguy, you got something?
I was just going to say, I think that the dynamic on the show kind of really lends to exploring that whole friendship between them a bit more. And not necessarily with the whole Apple Dash ship, but just, as friends, that it's a really interesting dynamic on the show. And
Yeah, it is.
And it really comes across in this piece.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So,
Okay, well, now I can talk, right?
yes.
So we have to wrap up fairly soon. One last question I had for you, GrayStripe, was... Do you have any advice to give to any inspiring artists out there who are trying to get into drawing
and
ponies?
inspiring artists. Let me see. I guess, obviously where I come from, as I've said a million times, is a very emotional standpoint. I watch the show, I take in the characters, I try to understand them as best as I can, and then I just kind of try to channel them into drawing. I stick fairly closely to the Faust way of drawing the ponies, but giving it my own little spin on it. So don't be afraid to just make something your own. Don't be afraid to add your own little personal touch to things. I believe that when it comes to the physics of horses, I try to pay attention to like how horses actually move and how they stand and things like that. So I don't really know where I'm going with this. I guess I guess if you have a passion for ponies, just harbor it and hang on to it. And I think that as long as you keep that and keep practicing drawing ponies, you really can't go wrong. So, and just be proud of your work. I think you'll be okay. So, yeah, I guess.
Well, there's when it comes to art, a lot of it comes deeply rooted from passion, creativity, and inspiration. These things that we can't quantify, and the things that we just feel. You can't really describe it. But I think there's something that you do that is very important for artists to know, and that despite the fact that art comes from these places within us that are unquantifiable, there are a lot of things you can do within your art and as an artist that are quantifiable and can help you out. And I think, just the process of thinking about the art a little bit, actively going out and experimenting and just, you put a lot of thought into what you're doing. And I think that's what makes you stand out compared to other people, is that you have that thought process. And so I think for aspiring artists, you channel that emotion you have and use it, because it's a great thing to have, but there has to be thought too.
Yes. A lot of thought, a lot of contemplation should be given into the assignment. Just, it's really easy just to step into something really fast and just, have a bunch of scrawl on a piece of paper and really let your mind wander. But sometimes it's good to just sort of step back and think about what you're doing and just take a real moment to contemplate your artistic process. So don't be afraid to slow down and just sort of understand what you want to do and how you want to do it. So, yeah.
And I mean, if you're really interested in what you're doing, if you have a passion in what you're doing, then this slowing down, this thinking, this, acquiring information is all fun in itself. It's all something you want to do. So, if you're finding yourself if you find it too tedious to go out and think about things or to look up information, then maybe take a step back and try something else, because all this introspection should be a lot of fun in itself.
I mean, thinking about ponies is so much fun, and thinking about stuff that you're interested in should be fun. So make something out of it. Don't treat it as for naught. There's no harm. No harm comes out of thinking about what you like and what you want to do. So give it a lot of time. Don't be afraid to just write a bunch of notes down about what you want to do and how you want to do it. So, yeah.
It seems like you put a lot of time and process into thinking about, well, not just the art pieces that you mentioned, but also emotions into them. Because, like, myself personally, I'm not the most emotionally aware person, or especially when it comes to, like, when I make art, I often don't even look into the emotion at all. Which is weird because I've never been very emotional, and it was kind of the show, like this show, Ponies, that opened me up to that, to be more okay with being an emotional creature.
Yeah.
Because being, a guy and being raised as trying to be like masculine and stuff, not showing emotions was pretty bloody important. You know what I mean?
I have to say, My Little Pony is definitely that show. It really brings out the thought that it's okay to just really get into your emotions and embrace them. So definitely, I can't even explain it. It's just a perfect show for that, perfect piece of media. So definitely.
Especially since we've had you on the show and we kept bringing up pieces, and you kept bringing up how you looked at those characters emotionally, or the depths of those characters. They're not exactly things that I look at in art, which is why it's kind of nice to have Rainbow Plasma here, because he'll look at like, oh, this character has this certain depth to them. And I often overlook that. I often look at like, the colors or composition in this piece, and I don't go like, well, how does that make me feel?
Yeah.
It's not something that I usually take into account. So I think maybe that's some great advice, especially to aspiring artists.
Definitely.
Is taking that consideration of a feeling of emotional depth and depth in a character even.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's all good. I mean, emotions and how they portrayed in a piece is just as important, or is vital to the composition. So every little thing, even the emotional background, is important to look at. It makes the piece.
It's like in historical art, it's about like cultural context, to where this cartoon art in the show we've built so much love for. It's more about, the character art, character context,
Yeah, definitely.
So we're lucky to have this well, as you put it, to dive into.
So
always to go back to it. So yeah.
I mean, Bernd, I have spent this entire episode sitting in my chair just going, must not talk over people, must contain excitement. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to have you on here today, just because of, especially for me, the kind of, I feel like we match up a lot in our philosophies for things and just how we kind of translate stuff. So especially for me, it was a very exciting episode. So thanks for coming on. But we do need to wrap up here because we are over time already. So we should start wrapping up now.
Let me just thank you for that. It was great fun to be here, and I do think that we have similar philosophy and art. So I thank you for that too, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll have to chat about it sometime off the record.
Of course, yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, that is the end of this episode. I think we should do something really quick before we get into plugs, and that is ask you, GrayStripe, in terms of what you have out there, would you like to plug anything? You have your DeviantArt, but other things perhaps that you want other people to know about?
Yeah, my Tumblr is rabies vaccine. .tumblr.com. So I know it's one of those. Yeah, I know it's weird. So I also post pony art there, but it's also just a personal Tumblr where I just reblog whatever I feel like. So there's a lot of ponies and a lot of animation. So check that out if you're interested. That's really all the sites that I go on in terms of art. There's not much else. So I guess my DeviantArt and my Tumblr are my foremost. So yeah, that's about it.
Well, we'll have to put those on the screen, Bernd. And yeah, I mean, that's it for the interview. So why don't we get into our own plugs here? Pinky Dash, take it away.
Can do. Who's Pinky Dash? Okay, so we have a DeviantArt account, cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. We have a email account, which is cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. Social media, we've got Facebook, which is Cutie Art Crusaders. Yeah, Cutie Art Crusaders on Facebook. We have Twitter, which is @CutieArtCrusade, and a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/CutieArtCrusaders. Each one of us will reply to you on one of those. We all have our own thing that we do. Yeah, so if you find one of those, you can talk to us that
Also
way.
to see the pictures that were on the screen this episode in higher def, of course, favorites folder in the description. This lovely artist, GrayStripe, her DeviantArt in the description.
As well.
And leave us a like and stuff like that on YouTube. Helps other people see it. And yep. Thanks.
We will have our theme for next week posted
On the
above,
screen.
on the screen right now, right there.
If everything works out according to plan, next week on the show we should have Celebi Yoshi. So look forward to that. Tune in next week.
And that should be everything. Does anybody else have anything else to bring up before we close out here? I'll take that as a no. All right then. Well,
I'm hungry.
I gotta go to work.
Thank you guys for listening to this podcast. Thanks again to GrayStripe for coming on. It was a delight to have you here.
Oh, it was
fantastic.
fun to be here. Thank you.
We'll have to have you on sometime, but then again, we say that to everyone, so it might be a while.
No worries.
All right. Well, that is everything for this week. Thank you guys for watching, whether or not you're on the live stream or on YouTube. We love you all the same. My name is Rainbow Plasma.
I'm Brenda 1.
I'm Flutterguy317.
I'm Pinky Spark.
And I'm GrayStripe64.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Oh my god, friend! Yes, the interview was so good! So happy! You don't even know! I'm so pumped right now, you don't even... Spend 4 hours talking about... God!